Hello, a very good afternoon. Welcome to the news review. From the 10th Avenue Extension Greater Estate, this is NBN TV, your mega broadcasting network, offshoot of the Afrodite Multimedia. My name is El Samuels. We're going through all the week to bring you all the top stories that has made headline across the world, from the local, from the international, as well as bringing you business and its updates on the review. Stay with us, and this review is also live across our social media handles on NBN 360. To start with, the President, John Dramani Mahama, has called for a deeper economic and diplomatic cooperation between Ghana and Belarus, urging businesses in both countries to seize new opportunities in agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and trade during the state's visit to the Eastern European nation.
President John Dramani Mahama says Ghana is ready to strengthen its partnership with Belarus as both countries seek to expand cooperation in key sectors of their economies. Speaking during a visit to the city of Brest in Belarus, President Mahama highlighted the importance of closer collaboration in agriculture, mining, manufacturing, and industrial development. He expressed optimism that his visit would open new avenues for investment and trade between the two countries. The president noted that Ghana is keen to learn from Belarus's technological and industrial experience, particularly in agro-processing and food production, as part of efforts to boost food security and modernize Ghana's agricultural sector. President Mahama also invited Belarusian investors to explore business opportunities in Ghana, describing the country as an attractive destination for partnerships that can drive economic growth and job creation. The state's visit, which includes bilateral talks with Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko, is expected to culminate in the signing of several agreements aimed at strengthening cooperation in agriculture, education, commerce, and technical development. The president is expected to return to Accra on Tuesday after concluding the 4-day state visit.
Away from the visit of the president to Belarus, the Minister for Health has directed Ghana Health Service to take lead in implementing government's free primary healthcare program aimed at expanding access to essential health services, improving healthcare delivery across the country.
The Minister for Health has tasked the Ghana Health Service to spearhead the rollout of the government's free primary healthcare program as part of efforts to ensure equitable access to quality healthcare for all Ghanaians. Speaking at a stakeholder engagement on healthcare reforms, the minister emphasized the critical role of the Ghana Health Service in coordinating the implementation of the initiative, which is expected to provide free access to basic healthcare services at primary health facilities nationwide. According to the minister, the program forms a key part of government's commitment to achieving universal health coverage and reducing financial barriers that prevent many citizens from seeking timely medical care. The Ghana Health Service has been urged to work closely with regional and district health directorates, healthcare professionals, and development partners to ensure a smooth and effective implementation process. Health sector stakeholders have welcomed the initiative, describing it as a major step towards improving preventive health care, early disease detection, and overall health outcomes across the country. Government says the free primary healthcare program is expected to strengthen Ghana's healthcare system while bringing essential healthcare services closer to communities nationwide.
Concerns are mounting over Accra's reoccurring flooding after report emerged that $350 million drainage improvement project has stalled, with an urban development analyst warning that delays could further expose communities to flood risk during the rainy season.
Fresh flooding in parts of Accra has reignited concerns about the pace of efforts to address the capital's long-standing drainage challenges. An urban development analyst has warned that the continued delay of a $350 million drainage infrastructure project could undermine efforts to reduce the impact of seasonal flooding across the city. According to the analyst, while significant investments have been earmarked for flood control over the years, Implementation bottlenecks and project delays have slowed progress, leaving many vulnerable communities exposed whenever heavy rains occur. The experts noted that beyond infrastructure development, effective maintenance of existing drains, enforcement of planning regulations, and improved waste management remain critical to tackling the flooding problem. Residents in flood-prone areas have meanwhile called on authorities to expedite ongoing drainage works and adopt long-term measures to prevent the annual destruction of property and disruption of livelihoods. Authorities have repeatedly assured the public of their commitment to improving drainage infrastructure and strengthening flood resilience in the capital. The latest flooding incidents have renewed calls for urgent action to complete critical drainage projects and implement sustainable solutions to Accra's perennial flood challenge.
Away from the Accra flood chaos, the French President Emmanuel Macron is expected to participate in Ghana's upcoming global dialogue on reparatory justice, a major international forum aimed at advancing discussions on historical injustices linked to slavery and colonialism.
Ghana is set to host world leaders, academics, and civil society groups in Accra for a high-level dialogue on reparatory justice later this month. French President Emmanuel Macron's participation is being seen as a significant boost to global efforts to address the lasting effects of the transatlantic slave trade and colonial rule. The conference, championed by President John Dramani Mahama, will focus on issues including historical accountability, restitution, reconciliation, and pathways toward reparatory justice. Organizers say the dialogue will provide a platform for meaningful engagement between Africa, Europe, the Caribbean, and the wider international community on one of the world's most important historical and moral issues. The event is expected to reinforce Ghana's growing leadership role in global conversations on reparatory justice and historical accountability.
Away from that story, we move to the Ashanti region, where hundreds of patients at the Komfo teaching hospitals are facing disruption to healthcare services as an industrial action by workers enters its fourth day, raising concerns about access to critical medical health.
Healthcare services at the Komfo teaching hospital continue to be affected as the ongoing strike by workers enters day 4. Patients seeking treatment have reported delays, postponed appointments, and difficulties accessing some essential services, while hospital authorities work to manage the impact of the industrial action. The striking workers are demanding improved working conditions and the resolution of outstanding concerns, while negotiations between stakeholders continue in an effort to end the impasse. The prolonged disruption has heightened concerns among patients and families, with calls mounting for a swift resolution to restore full healthcare services. Authorities and labor representatives are expected to continue discussions as patients await a breakthrough to bring normal operations back to one of Ghana's largest referral hospitals.
And back into the regional capital, the nation's capital, where heavy rains in parts of Accra has caused flooding along the Weija SCC at Atala Junction of Accra, Takoradi Highway, resulting in severe traffic congestion and disruption movement for commuters.
Motorists and commuters experienced significant delays on the Accra-Takoradi Highway after heavy rains flooded portions of the Weija SCC Atala stretch. The downpour submerged sections of the roadway, slowing traffic and creating long queues as vehicles struggled to navigate the affected area. Some drivers were forced to seek alternative routes, while pedestrians also faced difficulties crossing flooded sections of the highway. Emergency and traffic management officials have urged road users to exercise caution and avoid driving through deep flood waters, especially as more rainfall is expected. Authorities say monitoring efforts are underway and have advised residents in flood-prone communities to remain alert. The latest flooding has once again highlighted concerns over drainage challenges in parts of the capital, with renewed calls for long-term solutions to improve stormwater management.
The President, John Dramani Mahama, has pledged firm and sometimes difficult policy decisions to permanently address the reoccurring flooding problems in Accra, warning the situation can go and no longer be treated with temporary fixes.
President John Dramani Mahama says government will adopt tougher and more strategic interventions to tackle the perennial flooding challenges affecting Accra and other urban centers. Speaking on the worsening impact of heavy rains on communities, roads, and infrastructure, the president acknowledged that flooding has become a recurring national concern, particularly in low-lying and densely populated areas of the capital. He stressed that the time has come for hard decisions, including stronger enforcement of planning regulations, improved drainage infrastructure, and stricter control of construction in waterways and flood-prone zones. The president indicated that short-term responses such as destilting drains and emergency relief will continue, but emphasized that long-term solutions will require political will, institutional coordination, and public cooperation. Urban planning experts have long warned that rapid urbanization, poor drainage systems, and encroachment on waterways are major contributors to Accra's flooding crisis. Government is expected to roll out a more comprehensive flood management strategy, focusing on infrastructure upgrades and environmental enforcement measures. Authorities say the goal is to move from recurring disaster response to a sustainable flood prevention system that protects lives and property across the capital.
It's also partly the fault of those who sell those lands. Those lands are not supposed to be sold. And then also partly the fault of our assemblies and the officers who grant the permits. If anybody brings a house that you know is in a restricted area, which is a waterway, it's not supposed to be sold. And so you should not sign the permit for them to build. But some of the houses have building permits. How did they get them? You know, so we have to do some soul searching. And I think government must be firm in doing what it has to do in order that we stop this perennial flood issue. We shouldn't be like the vulture who says he will repair his roof when the rain stops. When the rain stops, then we forget about it. The vulture forgets until the next rain comes, and he promises again to repair the roof. This time, if we repair the roof, we have to really work and repair it. Incidentally, this year too, the rains have been unusually heavy, and that is why we're seeing the extent of flooding that we're seeing. In other years, it's not. The rainfall is not as heavy. And so I've directed the task force, NADMO and all the others, to do a presentation to us. We're going to identify all the restricted waterways. And when they have done that, I'm giving the directive that they should go ahead and do what they have to do. And I hope that when we do that, all Ghanaians would understand that it is government's business to protect the safety of all of us.
And that was the President, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama, government's business to protect all of us. So the Education Ministry, where the Minister for Education has announced plans for a national conference aimed at tackling the growing concerns about indiscipline in schools and identifying sustainable solutions to promote positive student behavior.
The Minister for Education, Haruna Iddrisu, has revealed that a national conference on school discipline will be convened to address increasing reports of misconduct and behavioral challenges in educational institutions across the country. According to the minister, the conference will bring together key stakeholders, including education experts, teachers, parents, religious leaders, students, and policymakers to examine the root causes of indiscipline and recommend practical interventions. The initiative follows growing public concern over incidents of violence, bullying, drug abuse, vandalism, and other forms of misconduct reported in some schools. The conference is expected to review existing disciplinary policies, guidance and counseling systems, and the role of parents and communities in shaping student behavior. The Ministry of Education says the goal is to develop a comprehensive national strategy that balances discipline with students' rights, welfare, and academic development. Education stakeholders have welcomed the move, emphasizing the need for a collective response to challenges that affect teaching, learning, and the overall school environment. The conference is expected to provide a roadmap for strengthening discipline in schools while promoting a safe, supportive, and productive learning environment for students across Ghana.
The major problems we will deal with this year, 2026, will be stemming the growing indiscipline in our schools, particularly at the secondary education level. We expect to hold a national conference in Kumasi on or before the end of July, where we expect that educators, academia, the church, moral society, the Muslim community and chiefs and parents, regional and district directors of education and headmistress will converge in Kumasi or Sunyani, depending upon what emerges as appropriate venue to deal with stemming the growing indiscipline in our schools. We have always maintained that parenting is a shared responsibility of the significant other of father and mother, and then the teacher. But we are losing many of it, no thanks to social media, which has become a toxic source of mis and disinformation, and many young people relying on it. But when we meet, I'm sure we'll take lessons from those educationists as to how to deal with it. But it must begin with responsible parenting and responsible teaching. I should thank the Member of Parliament for joining us this morning.
From the Education Ministry, we move straight to the Shanti region, where a tense standoff unfolded at the Aferi Military Hospital in the Shanti region after soldiers reportedly prevented members of the minority caucus in Parliament from inspecting the abandoned health facility.
Tensions flared at the Afari Military Hospital when a delegation of minority members of Parliament attempted to inspect the facility amid concerns over its prolonged abandonment and non-operational status. The MPs, who were on a fact-finding visit, sought to assess the state of the hospital and gather first-hand information on challenges delaying its completion and full utilization. However, military personnel stationed at the facility reportedly denied them access, leading to a brief confrontation. The minority caucus expressed concern over the development, arguing that Parliament has an oversight responsibility to monitor public projects and ensure accountability in the use of state resources. On the other hand, military authorities are reported to have cited security and administrative protocols as reasons for restricting access to the facility. The Afari Military Hospital, located near Kumasi, has attracted public attention in recent years due to concerns about delays in operationalizing the project despite substantial investment. The incident has reignited debate over transparency, parliamentary oversight, and the status of major public infrastructure projects across the country. Stakeholders are expected to seek clarity on the circumstances surrounding the incident as calls grow for a resolution that balances national security considerations with public accountability.
NC Sebi, yes. The MC has come to threaten her.
So who gave you the authority?
But at the end of the day, I'm working for you.
You're not working for anybody.
So you're not working for anybody. You didn't ask permission.
Why?
Did you see us stepping there? We are doing it for Ghana, not us. Officer.
Why is he doing this?
Yeah, for you.
Don't bring us.
No.
There is no.
Don't go back.
That is why we are going back.
Yeah, for the defense ministry. For defense ministry.
When there's an emergency, do you ask permission?
No. Defense ministry.
When there's an emergency.
No.
Members of parliament should ask permission from you. You have a minister.
Don't ask me that.
Don't ask me that.
Don't ask me that.
So project ongoing. We came here. Yebahas 2024. We came here. Yebahas. Yes. Brother, emergency situation that people are being turned, people are dying. You want it to affect my family member or yours before you see the citizens' action. When you are not acting, the citizens act. So they should act and bring confidence, so we will not do these things. Nobody says these things are right, but it is necessary to put pressure on government. It's a tool for demonstration. It's a tool to express your feeling, because Ashanti matters. They are doing new structures elsewhere. And we are saying that as an MP, we should treat every region equal. So just as other regions matter, Ashanti also matters. Matters here.
From the chaos in Afari Hospital in the Ashanti region, we move to the roads where the Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwame Govins-Agbodza, has announced that the Star La Beach Road project will be completed using Government of Ghana's funding following efforts to secure resources for the critical infrastructure project.
The Minister for Roads and Highways, Kwame Govins-Agbodza, says government is taking direct responsibility for completing the La Beach Road project through local financing arrangements. According to the minister, the project will no longer depend on its previous funding structure, but will instead be executed as a Government of Ghana funded initiative. He indicated that the necessary approval processes are underway to secure funding and ensure work resumes on the road. Mr. Agbodza expressed confidence that contractors would fully return to sites once the financing arrangements are finalized, allowing the remaining sections of the project to be completed. The La Beach Road is regarded as one of the key transport corridors in the Greater Accra region, serving communities along the eastern coastal stretch of Accra and easing traffic congestion within the capital. The announcement forms part of government's broader road infrastructure agenda, which seeks to accelerate the completion of stalled projects and improve road connectivity across the country. The roads minister has repeatedly stated that road construction activities will be intensified as government commits more resources to the sector. Residents and motorists who use the stretch are hopeful the renewed commitment will bring an end to years of delays and improve transportation along the corridor.
Now we move straight to the corridors of power, where the minority caucus in Parliament has criticized the majority, arguing that numerical strength alone is not enough to deliver meaningful governance, insisting that leadership must be measured by impact, accountability, and tangible results for citizens.
The minority caucus in Parliament has taken a swipe at the majority, stating that having the numbers in the House means little if it does not translate into improved living conditions for Ghanaians. Addressing the media, Minority members argued that effective governance should be judged by policies and outcomes rather than parliamentary arithmetic. They contended that despite the majority's numerical advantage, many pressing national challenges, including the cost of living, unemployment, and infrastructure deficits, remain unresolved. The caucus further accused the majority of prioritizing political dominance over constructive engagement and consensus building on issues of national importance. They also called on the majority to focus on policies that deliver measurable benefits to citizens rather than relying on its numerical strength to push through discussions. The comments add to the ongoing exchanges between both sides of the House as Parliament continues deliberations on key national issues. The majority is yet to respond formally to the minority's remarks.
Now, health care providers across the country are raising concerns about delays in claims processing by the National Health Insurance Authority, warning that the situation is placing significant financial strain on hospitals and affecting delivery of healthcare services.
The minority caucus in Parliament has taken a swipe at the majority, stating that having the numbers in the House means little if it does not translate into improved living conditions for Guineans. Addressing the media, minority members argued that effective governance should be judged by policies and outcomes rather than parliamentary arithmetic. They contended that despite the majority's numerical advantage, many pressing national challenges, including the cost of living, unemployment, and infrastructure deficits, remain unresolved. The caucus further accused the majority of prioritizing political dominance over constructive engagement and consensus building on issues of national importance. They also called on the majority to focus on policies that deliver measurable benefits to citizens rather than relying on its numerical strength to push through discussions. The comments add to the ongoing exchanges between both sides of the House as Parliament continues deliberations on key national issues. The majority is yet to respond formally to the minority's remarks.
Now we move into the healthcare providers story, where the healthcare providers across the country are raising concerns about delayed claims a processing by the National Health Insurance Authority, warning that the situation is placing significant financial strain on hospitals and affecting delivery of healthcare services.
The National Health Insurance Authority is facing mounting pressure as hospitals and healthcare facilities express frustration over delays in the processing and reimbursement of National Health Insurance Scheme claims. Healthcare providers say the prolonged delays are affecting their operational capacity, making it difficult to procure essential medicines, medical supplies, and other resources needed for effective healthcare delivery. Hospital administrators argue that timely reimbursement is critical to sustaining services, especially at a time when many facilities are already grappling with rising operational costs and increasing patient demand. Some health institutions have warned that continued delays could impact service quality and place additional financial burdens on healthcare providers who rely heavily on NHIS reimbursements to maintain operations. The concerns have reignited discussions about the sustainability of health financing and the need for more efficient claims verification and payment systems within the National Health Insurance Scheme. Meanwhile, stakeholders are urging the NHIA to expedite the processing of outstanding claims and strengthen measures to ensure timely payments to healthcare facilities nationwide. The development comes as government and health sector actors continue efforts to improve healthcare access and strengthen confidence in the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Away from the National Health Insurance Scheme story, we go to the governance, where government spokesperson Phyllis Kwakye Ofosu has clarified that recent Ministers' Award ceremony was not organized and founded or influenced by the government, insisting it was an independent initiative.
Government communications has distanced itself from controversy surrounding the Ministers' Awards, with spokesperson Felix Kwakye Ofosu firmly stating that the state had no involvement in the event. Speaking to journalists, Kwakye Ofosu explained that the awards were privately organized and should not be linked to government endorsement or public expenditure. He stressed that no public funds were used and no minister acted in an official capacity to coordinate the program on behalf of the state. His clarification comes amid public debate and criticism over the legitimacy and timing of the awards, with some calling for greater transparency in how such events involving public officials are conducted. According to him, the government remains focused on governance priorities and will not be drawn into activities that are outside official functions. He further urged the public to separate private recognition events from government business to avoid misinformation and unnecessary political tension.
There's no evidence. There's no evidence that any minister paid for any awards. Yes, there is a statement or a write-up issued by Professor Kwesa White of SIGA that he was approached to pay 50,000 cedis and he declined. That does not mean that any other person paid any money, especially in the absence of any evidence to that effect. I need to place on record that as far as government is concerned, no state agency or entity has organized any award ceremony purporting to honor ministers, MPs, or any other category of public servants. What I do know is that for a very long time, indeed, I recall that even in my days as a Deputy Minister for Information, sometime between 2013 and 2016, there have been all manner of groups who send round invitations and solicitations to people to be part of award schemes. And we understand that this particular awards that we are discussing started 6 years ago. And indeed, there are some members of the previous government who received similar awards. So it is purely voluntary, it is a private sector activity. And government does not in any way, shape or form endorse it. Mr. Speaker, in order to bring clarity to the matter, the Secretary to the President caused to be issued a statement in which the President has admonished and cautioned all of his appointees to steer clear of such awards because we do not believe that it is the best way to go. So private entities are free to organize any award schemes, but this government does not endorse it. So it is a private entity, Mr. Speaker. I cannot speak for the private entity that organized it, but government was not part.
And then you can see the controversy on the floor of Parliament, where the government has successfully repatriated 327 stranded Ghanaians from La Côte d'Ivoire as part of efforts to protect citizens abroad and ensure safe return home.
The government of Ghana has facilitated the safe return of 327 Guinean nationals who were stranded in Côte d'Ivoire under difficult conditions. The exercise was coordinated by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration Ghana in collaboration with the Ghana Immigration Service and Ghana's diplomatic mission in Abidjan. Officials say the repatriation forms part of ongoing efforts to protect Guinean citizens abroad, especially those facing economic hardship, irregular migration challenges, or displacement. According to authorities, the affected citizens were transported in barges and received medical screening and basic support upon arrival in Ghana to ensure their safe reintegration. Government sources indicate that many of the returnees have traveled in search of better economic opportunities but became stranded due to documentation issues and limited access to employment. Officials have assured that support mechanisms are being assessed to help some of the returnees reintegrate into local communities and explore livelihood opportunities. The ministry has also urged Ghanaians to use regular and verified migration channels when seeking opportunities abroad to avoid similar situations in the future.
These are brothers and sisters from Côte d'Ivoire that were affected by the demolition exercise ongoing, just a way to, control flooding in Côte d'Ivoire. And so the government thought it wise to repatriate them back to their various homes. And so first of all, let me thank the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, both La Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana, and thank His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Ghana, and everybody who has contributed to bring our brothers and sisters safely back home. And like I stated earlier, the government is ever ready to support them so that whatever, loss, that is what, when we interviewed, a lot of them said they've done a lot of things at their various places and they left it. So the government is ever ready to support them so that they can come back and then, their stay in Ghana would be fruitful. So we are ever ready. We've given them contact numbers to contact us and make sure that, first of all, we'll give them transportation to get to their various destinations and make sure that we support them to get back to their faith and so that they will really enjoy their stay back home in Ghana. We had 303, but these people are from Greater Accra. Others are at Takoradi, Cape Coast, and then Eastern region as well. So in all, we had 303. They go through screening. We have our health workers around. The nurses are here, the doctors are here. They went through some screening, they went through some blood tests before they are here. Some of them had cough, and so they've been attended to. And so right from here, and other protocols from NADMO, we are giving them some relief items to make sure that it sustains them until they get back to their faith. So these are some of the protocol processes we pass them through.
Now let's do some parliamentary story where the minority in parliament has raised alarm over rising youth unemployment in Ghana, describing it as a worsening national crisis requiring urgent government intervention.
The minority in parliament has expressed concern over what it describes as a deepening youth unemployment crisis across the country, warning that the situation is becoming increasingly unsustainable if urgent action is not taken. According to the minority, thousands of young graduates continue to enter the job market each year without corresponding employment opportunities, a trend they say is fueling frustration and economic hardship. The group, commonly referred to as the minority in Parliament, Ghana, argues that current economic policies have not adequately addressed job creation, particularly in the private sector, where most employment opportunities are expected to emerge. They are calling for a coordinated national strategy focused on skills development, entrepreneurship support, and expanded industrial growth to absorb the growing youth population. The minority further cautioned that failure to address the issue could have broader social and economic consequences, including increased dependency, migration pressure, and social unrest. They are urging governments to prioritize job creation in upcoming policy interventions and national budget planning. Government, however, is expected to respond to the concerns in the coming days as debate continues over the effectiveness of current employment programs.
First, we need to anchor every job program on published delivery scorecards with clear metrics on beneficiaries, the cost of these jobs, the time to placement, and the employment retention. Second, we need to separate skills development from job creation, and we need to fund both separately. Training people without creating demand for their skills only manufactures disappointment. Number three, Mr. Speaker, we have to shift the funding model from sovereign financing to private-public partnerships. Government should focus on de-risking, co-investing, and creating regulatory clarity, while private capital drives the large-scale job creation that we need. Number four, Mr. Speaker, we need to make the apprenticeship economy the spine of the youth employment strategy through national certification, employer co-funding, and clear pathways into employment or self-employment. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I propose that we need to build a credible labor market information system for the Republic of Ghana, which will publish timely district-level data on vacancies, sectoral demand, skills gaps, and graduate absorption to guide policy and budget decisions. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, we do not need more slogans or promises that results in the pipeline. What we need are more effective ways by which we can solve the worsening youth unemployment problem in our country. The Ghana Statistical Service data is clear. The youth unemployment problem is getting worse, and the time to act is now. I thank Mr. Speaker for the opportunity.
Those were the major stories that made headlines over the week, and that's a review of those major stories. Now we're turning our attention to the business desk after the break. All right, so welcome back. Now, on the business front, for major stories that made headlines, government raised 5.8 billion Ghana cedis from its domestic treasury market, even as rising interest continue to influence investor demand and borrowing costs.
Government has successfully raised 5.8 billion Ghana cedis through the primary treasury market, reflecting continued investor appetite for government securities despite an upward pressure on interest rates. The latest auction saw participation from both industrial and retail investors, with demand largely driven by short to medium-term government instruments. However, analysts note that raising yields indicate tightened financing conditions as government competes with the private sector for available credit in the domestic market. Economic observers say the higher rates may increase the cost of debt servicing in the short term, but also reflect investor confidence in government securities as a relatively safe investment option. Market watchers are urging fiscal discipline alongside border economic reforms to ensure debt sustainability and reduce pressure on future borrowing. The government comes as government continues to rely on the domestic market to finance budgetary and refinancing needs aimed at involving economic control.
The government says it is implementing a key economic reforms aimed at attracting foreign investment, boosting investor confidence, and positioning the country as a preferred destination for global capital.
Ghana is intensifying efforts to attract international investors through a series of policy and regulatory reforms designed to strengthen the business environment. Officials say the reforms are focused on improving economic stability, enhancing transparency, and creating opportunities for private sector growth across key sectors of the economy. The government believes these measures will help increase foreign direct investment, support job creation, and accelerate Ghana's industrial and infrastructure development agenda. Stakeholders at recent investment engagements have expressed optimism that sustained reforms and policy consistency will strengthen Ghana's competitiveness in the global investment market. Authorities say the reform agenda is central to build a resilient economy and unlocking new opportunities for both local and international investors.
Away from the economy, let's look at some agribusiness where Ghana export sector has recorded a strong performance with total export earning rising by 30.7%, driven largely by historic surge in non-traditional exports, which has now exceeds $5 billion mark.
Ghana's export earnings have posted a significant increase, climbing by 30.7% in the latest reporting period, according to trade performance updates. A major driver of the growth is the strong performance of non-traditional export, which have for the first time surpassed the 5 billion threshold. These exports include processed and semi-processed goods such as cocoa, derivatives, shea products, textiles, handicrafts, horticultural produce, and light manufactured goods. Ghana Export Promotion Authority says the milestone reflects ongoing efforts to divest Ghana's export base beyond traditional commodities like gold, cocoa, and oil. Officials note that improved global demand, expanded market access agreements, and increased participation of local exporters contributed to the upward trend. The authorities also highlighted enhanced value addition and support programs for small and medium-sized exporters as key factors behind the growth. The overall export performance is expected to strengthen Ghana's foreign exchange, earning and support macroeconomic stability, even as stakeholders call for sustained investment in production capacity, logistics, and export financing. The latest figures signal growing momentum in Ghana's drive to diversify its economy and deepen participation in global trade markets.
Now, away from the agribusiness, let's go to the years on is where Ghana's capital market has recorded a significant milestone with a total market capitalization crossing a 270 billion Ghana cedis mark, reflecting renewed investor confidence and strong performance of the listed equities on the Ghana Stock Exchange.
The market stock exchange has reached a major financial milestone as its total market capitalization climbs past 270 billion Ghana cedis, signaling improved investor sentiment and steady growth in listed companies. Market analysts attribute the surge to strong performance by key blue-chip stocks, increased trade activity, and growing confidence in the domestic economy. Gains in financial sector, telecommunications, and consumer goods stocks are believed to have contributed significantly to the upward trend. The development reflects a broader recovery in market activities, with investors responding to macroeconomic stability measures and improving corporate earnings across several sectors. Financial experts note that while the growth is encouraging, sustaining the momentum will depend on continued economic stability, inflation control, and policies that support private sector expansion and capital markets development. The Ghana Stock Exchange has expected to continue playing a key role in mobilizing long-term capital for businesses and supporting government efforts to deepen the financial sector. Market watchers say the move also reinforced the importance of a stock exchange as a barometer of economic confidence and a critical platform for investment growth in the country.
From the Ghana Stock Exchange, government has launched a national commodity platform aimed at transforming Ghana's shell industry, improving transparency, pricing, and market access for producers.
Ghana has officially launched a national commodity platform to modernize the share value chain and strengthen the country's position in the global share market. The initiative, rolled out by relevant trade and agricultural sector authorities, is expected to streamline the buying and selling of share products, reduce exploitation of producers, and improve pricing transparency across supply chain. The platform is designed to connect farmers, aggregators, processors, and exporters in the more structured digital system, helping to eliminate inefficiencies that have long affected the sector. Stakeholders say the move will particularly benefit women in northern Ghana, who form the majority of share collectors and processors, by ensuring fairer prices and improved market access. The initiative is also expected to enhance traceability and quality standards, making Ghana's share more competitive on the international market. Government officials have described the platform as a major step toward agricultural commercialization and value addition, aligning with broader and efforts to boost non-traditional exports. Industry players are optimistic that the system will attract more investments into the share sector and improve income stability for rural communities. The rollout marks a significant milestone in Ghana's efforts to digitize agricultural commodity trading and strengthen export earnings.
And that brings us to the end of the major stories on the business desk that made waves through all the week. We go for a break. When we come back, we turn our attention to the international front. On a foreign front, we start from Asia, where at least 32 people have been confirmed dead after a powerful earthquake struck the southern regions of Philippines, with emergency teams conducting search and rescue operations amidst widespread destruction and fear of further casualties.
A major earthquake has rocked the southern part of the Philippines, leaving at least 32 people dead and causing extensive damage to homes, infrastructure, and public facilities. Rescue officials say the quake struck with significant force, triggering panic among residents and forcing thousands to flee into open spaces as buildings collapsed or sustained severe structural damage. Emergency response teams have been deployed to affected areas, where they are working to locate survivors trapped under the rubble and provide urgent medical assistance to the injured. Authorities warned that the death toll could rise as communication lines remain disrupted in some remote communities, slowing down assessment and relief efforts. The government has since activated disaster response protocols, with relief supplies and medical teams being mobilized to support affected regions. Seismologists are also monitoring the area for aftershocks, urging residents to remain cautious as recovery efforts continue. Officials say humanitarian assistance is being scaled up as the country grapples with one of its most serious recent seismic disasters.
And so with the Philippines are experiencing hundreds of aftershock following a powerful earthquake, with authorities warning that the death toll could rise as rescue operations continue in affected areas.
Hundreds of aftershocks have continued to shake parts of the Philippines after a major earthquake struck the region, compounding fear and disruption among residents. Emergency teams are working through damaged communities to search for survivors, clear debris, and assess the full extent of destruction to homes, roads, and public infrastructure. Officials say the death toll may increase as more reports come in from remote and hard-hit areas, where communication and access remain difficult. Thousands of people have been displaced and are currently sheltering in temporary relief camps as authorities coordinate emergency response efforts and humanitarian assistance. Disaster agencies are urging residents to remain vigilant as aftershocks continue, while rescue operations remain ongoing across the affected regions.
Away from the Asians, we move to Southern Africa, where South African police have launched a major manhunt for at least 12 people were killed and 9 others injured in a mass shooting at an informal settlement in Johannesburg. Authorities are searching for more than 10 suspects behind the attack.
Police in South Africa are hunting for a group of heavily armed gunmen following a deadly mass shooting in the Cleveland area of Johannesburg. According to police, more than 10 suspects arrived in a white Toyota Quantum minibus at the Jumpers informal settlement late Tuesday night. The attackers reportedly entered the settlement through multiple access points and opened fire at several locations before fleeing the scene in the same vehicle. Authorities say 12 people were killed in the attack, while at least 9 others sustained gunshot wounds and were transported to hospital for treatment. The victims include both men and women. Police have yet to establish a motive for the shooting, but investigators are exploring all possible leads. Some reports suggest the attack may be linked to criminal activities and illegal mining operations that have long plagued parts of Johannesburg. The incident is the latest in a series of mass shootings that have raised concerns about violent crime in South Africa, which continues to record one of the highest murder rates in the world. As investigations continue, police are appealing to the public for information that could lead to the arrest of the suspects, while families of the victims await answers following one of Johannesburg's deadliest attacks.
I would say it is still early to can confirm the issues of illegal mining, but of course we cannot overrule that because I've seen some of the victims. There were, I think, 1 or 2, if I'm not mistaken, is 2 or 3, some of the victims where they were lying. It looks like it's this a place of the processing center for illegal mining, so one could not overrule that. But as I've indicated earlier, that we were here 3 weeks back through the intelligence-led operation where we got over 1,000, live ammunitions of the AK-47, and we also managed to get 3 pistol, 3 suspects. Added to that, I think we had not less than 6 illegal immigrants, which we have effected arrest.
Jumpers informal settlement is located near several known illegal mining sites. At least 12 people were injured in the shooting that has left residents in shock and has once again raised concerns about gun violence.
Away from South Africa, we move to the West African Nigeria, to be precise, where the government of Nigeria has begun evacuating its citizens from South Africa following the rising anti-migrant sentiment and growing concerns about the safety of foreign nationals.
The Nigerian government has initiated evacuation arrangements for its citizens living in South Africa amid increasing reports of tension linked to anti-migration sentiment in parts of the country. Authorities say the decision is a precautionary measure aimed at ensuring the safety and security of Nigerian nationals, particularly in areas where foreign-owned businesses and migrant communities have faced heightened hostility. The situation has sparked concerns across the continent as Nigeria and South Africa maintain strong diplomatic and economic ties with thousands of Nigerians residing and working in South Africa. Officials are reportedly working with relevant agencies and community leaders to facilitate the safe return of affected citizens while also monitoring developments closely on the ground. The Nigerian government has urged its citizens in South Africa to remain calm, avoid high-risk areas, and comply with security advisories as evacuation arrangements continue. The development adds to ongoing discussions about migration, xenophobia, and regional cooperation within Africa, with calls for calm and diplomatic engagement between stakeholders. Further updates are expected as authorities assess the scale of the situation and the number of citizens requiring assistance.
And so with South Africa in the news, South African has become the subject of a widespread social media mockery from football fans across Africa following the Bafana 2-0 defeat to Mexico in the opening match of the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
South Africa's World Cup campaign has gotten off to a difficult start both on and off the pitch after a 2-0 loss to Mexico sparked a wave of reactions from football fans across the continent. The opening match saw Bafana reduced to 9 men after 2 red cards, making it one of the most dramatic World Cup openers in recent history. The defeat immediately triggered intense discussion and trolling on social media platforms. Many fans from countries including Ghana and Nigeria mocked South Africa's performance, criticizing the team's discipline and tactical approach during the match. Online discussions, memes, and videos quickly spread across social media following the final whistle. Reports indicate that some of the reactions were influenced not only by football rivalry, but also by lingering tensions over recent anti-migrant sentiments and xenophobic incidents in South Africa that affected citizens from other African countries. South Africa captain Rowan Williams reportedly expressed disappointment over what he described as a lack of support from fellow Africans, calling for greater continental unity during major international tournaments. Despite the setback, South Africa's coach, Hugo Broos, remains optimistic that the team can recover and improve in its remaining group stage matches. Bafana will now turn their attention to their next future as they seek to revive their hopes of progressing to the knockout stage of the 2026 FIFA World Cup.
And with our story from South Africa on the World Cup opening game, we'll come to the end of this weekend's news review. Live and direct from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate. We hope you've enjoyed being part of us with a news review. For more news, log on to MBN 360. Till I come your way again, my name is El Samuels. Do have a good afternoon.